We are rolling here on a Tuesday live from YouTube. Thank you for making this program be part of your busy day wherever, however, with whoever you are listening with. Everything is appreciated. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, put the thumbs up, share with friends, watch with friends. Anything, everything is appreciated. We are seeing a conference fall. The Conference of Champions, Pac-12, is down to 4. It could be down to less. Pete Thamel, College Football Insider, tweeted and wrote on The Athletic saying that Stanford and Cal are jumping and wanting to jump to the ACC. That would leave just 2 teams in the Pac-12, and they're not great. Washington State and Oregon State, not exactly moneymakers. The Conference of Champions that used to play the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl with all the great tradition is now done. And you could see how quickly a conference could fall when you lose your 4 best teams that make all the revenue. USC, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA all made the most money. Great football, great education. In California, great fan base, great name, lots of media exposure. And it's hard when you lose your top 4 teams for the conference to remain, because the TV deals don't want to see Oregon State versus Washington State. They want to see UCLA versus USC, Washington versus Oregon, Washington versus USC. Once the top 4 teams go and the other 8 try to look for a contract with Apple TV, it's not as exciting for Apple TV. And think of it if Big Ten went to CBS and said, we want money, we have a great conference, but we did just lose Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin. Think if the SEC went to ESPN and CBS and said, we want more money because college football is growing, college football is still alive and popular, we fill up the seats, but our conference did just lose Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Auburn. That would be a problem. Listen, conferences are top-heavy. Every conference has 4 or 5 good teams. They have 3 or 4 terrible teams. Vanderbilt, terrible. Rutgers, Maryland, terrible. Pac-12, Washington State, Oregon State, terrible. Those are the last 2 remaining. And once you get down from the USC, UCLA in the Pac-12, what are we watching for? And a lot of people don't want to see this conference realignment. People don't want change, but in sports, change is inevitable. The center position used to back down, get rebounds. Now you have to run the floor, shoot the 3, and it calls for a lot of athletic ability. The quarterback position, the running back position, in the NFL. They made it harder to play defense, harder to hit the quarterback. The field is more wide open. They have 3, 4 wide receivers on the field. In baseball, the game's shorter. Stealing is easier. They want more offense. They want more action. In college football, conference realignment. USC, UCLA, Washington, they don't want to make the same money as Oregon State and Washington State. They are creating 2 great conferences in the SEC and the Big Ten. And this is better for college football because when I look at Labor Day weekend, it should be packed. Students coming to school for the first week, that means more revenue. People are excited for football. That's 2 weeks before the NFL games start. I look at the schedule and there's 2, maybe 3 games a usual college football casual would watch. I'm a big football fan and there's only 4 to 5 games to me. College football is a big game problem. Out of the 32, 35 games you get because there's 123 teams in the college football D1, you get 9, 10 games that are interesting, and only 4 or 5 of them are ranked because teams are so afraid of losing. Because when we had this 14 playoffs, if you lose once, you're in trouble. 2 times, you're out. If it's 12 teams, it's more money. It also means there's room for more mistakes. You could have 2 losses, and that means you'll get to see better games UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, because teams could afford to lose one more time than they usually are. This is the Michael Batson Show, coming to you live from Chicago. The first story of the day, HBO's Hard Knocks premieres tonight, starring the New York Jets. The Jets didn't want it. Aaron Rodgers didn't want it. They're allowing limited access, and there are a lot of frowns when the camera crew came to that facility. But you don't blame them for picking the New York Jets. If HBO had a choice, Jets, Cowboys, those are the two teams. And you want to know why the Cowboys are America's team? I've always wondered this, and I got the answer a few months ago. Why they always play on 325, why Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are always calling the games, and they're always on Monday Night Football, because there's so much to talk about with them. They have so many storylines. They have so many things that the media could discuss and argue about. If we bring up the Tennessee Titans, who's going to argue about them? Will Levis is good. If we bring up the Texans, not much to argue about. If we bring up the Cowboys, lots of storylines. Old, prickly owner, coach on the hot seat, QB who hasn't won a playoff game, a running back asking for more money, a cornerback who has beef with the QB, an offensive coordinator who's new. With the Jets, it's the same. Crazy old owner and Woody Johnson, a prickly QB coming to a new team, a bad and old offensive line, an offense coordinator who just failed at being a head coach and didn't last a season, a coach on the hot seat, a running back coming back from injury, and by the way, they're trying to sign Dalvin Cook. There are so many storylines because just like the Cowboys, it's must-see TV because there's so much to talk about. And I don't blame HBO, and no one should blame HBO for picking the Jets. Because this isn't just a blind competition where they just throw something at a piece of wall and say, we're heading to Detroit. No. Sports is based on money. Life is based on money. People watch it equals more money. If you say, do you want to watch Hard Knocks about the Texans or Hard Knocks about the Vikings, or you could watch Hard Knocks on the Cowboys or the Jets, 9 out of 10 people, unless you're a fan of those first two teams, would say the Cowboys and the Jets on an annual basis. Because they have so many storylines, and this year is no different. We'll take a break, be back in 30 seconds. The Michael Batson Show coming to you live from Chicago, rolling on a Tuesday. From Chicago on YouTube. Angels are 0-7. Since the trade deadline, 8 games back of the wild card, 12 back of the division. They probably won't make the playoffs. This is bad for baseball. This is bad for the fans, for the Angels, but also the MLB in general. Because they need their stars in the playoffs. How good would it be if Shohei, Mike Trout, and an Angels team that have never won the World Series went deep in the postseason and played a team like the Yankees with Aaron Judge? That would be interesting. The problem with MLB is that most times in the World Series, the stars aren't in it. Of course, David Ortiz and Derek Jeter and those players had some great rivalries and great games and series, but most times, the best players in the MLB from that year don't make the World Series because it's not one person or 2 or 3 players like the NBA and NFL. You need pitching, you need a good owner, you need 12, 13 other really solid guys to contend. Mike Trout hasn't made a World Series. His pitching, his team sucks. But it's also funny how it doesn't matter that you don't make a World Series in the MLB. It doesn't matter for your legacy. Tell me how many Ted Williams has. How many David Ortiz? How about Lou Gehrig? I don't know. Not because I don't know sports, but because I don't pay attention. It doesn't matter. How many Jordan has? He has 6. Tom Brady, 7 championships. That matters. How many Joe DiMaggio has? It doesn't really matter. Because the MLB postseason is great if you want to watch it, but it doesn't have individual storylines. It doesn't have great players. The NBA and the NFL has great players and great storylines in their championships. There has been 6 NBA series finals in the last 50 years that have got 20 million viewers. 3 were Golden State and Cleveland. 1 series was the Heat and the Spurs, Mavs, Heat, and Lakers, Celtics. Great players, great storylines. Tom Brady, Eli Manning, their second Super Bowl matchup, that got 110 million. The most ever was this year. Hurts trying to get his first Super Bowl, big brand, big name, Kansas City Chiefs with a big fan base, with Patrick Mahomes trying to get a second Super Bowl. That is a big storyline with big names. The MLB doesn't have it because it doesn't really matter. Their stars don't always make the playoffs, let alone almost never the best player in baseball has a shot to win the World Series. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, 2 of the best players in baseball, will not have the chance to win the World Series. That's not that bad for the player because we don't hold them accountable for championships. If Marino had a Super Bowl, he would likely be 1 or 2. If Montana didn't have a Super Bowl, he would be 6 or 7 or 8. We judge players based on Super Bowl and championships in other sports, but not in the MLB. Again, tell me how many Lou Gehrig has. Ted Williams. It doesn't really matter, and I don't care. No one does. It's about your individual stats, individual success. Because the best player in baseball usually does not win the World Series. This year, it's going to be no different. Shohei Ohtani, the best player in baseball, will not compete for the World Series. Mike Trout will not compete for the World Series. And that is bad for baseball because you want the best storyline and the best player in your championship. The NFL, the NBA does that. The MLB, hell no. Let's go to headline news. So the top 100 was released. Patrick Mahomes went 1, Jefferson 2, Hurts 3, Nick Bosa 4, Travis Kelce 5. I'm not a big fan of this. It's like when they put out the Madden ratings. People like to talk about it. Big on social media. Players like to tweet about it. I don't really care. It's all about
Start tonight with breaking news.
Who has the best highlight reels. Justin Fields is 1 above Trevor Lawrence. He has a better running ability. He has a better highlight reel. He's better and more exciting to watch for a quarter or for a game. But do you really want Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence? Hell no. Kirk Cousins, he had a good year. He's on quarterback. But was he 56 spots better than last year when we made this order? Hell no. So I don't really care. It's cool. It's fun to talk about. And this is what makes the NFL great. It's a 24/7 sport. NBA, MLB, you have a few good days in the offseason where you get to talk about their sport. But in the NFL, it is a revolving window of stuff to talk about. It is always on the news. They always have headline news going. Right now, we have a list. It was a few weeks ago, video game rankings, and somehow we're still talking about it because NFL rules and is king. NFL does it right. They have stuff throughout the offseason. They keep it fresh, they keep it entertaining, and this list, although I don't really care about it, we're talking about it. Patrick Mahomes, Jefferson Hurts, Bosa, Kelce round out the top 5. What's storyline number 2? Well, Trevor Lawrence expected to play in preseason opener. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, I heard Russell Wilson all preparing to play in the preseason opener. I'm big on Trevor Lawrence. I think he's the fourth best quarterback in all of football. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, you know the order there. Then I think it's Lawrence. You like Wilson, but then you say, would you want a young Lawrence or an old Wilson? You like Justin Herbert. Would you want Justin Herbert, hasn't won a playoff game, an injury issue, or Trevor Lawrence? Lamar Jackson or Trevor Lawrence? He is the fourth best quarterback in the NFL. He won 9 games and won a playoff game in his second year. And his first year with Doug Peterson. His first year with the new OC. His second year in Jacksonville, he won a playoff game and almost beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium if not for Chad Henne coming and stepping in for the injured Patrick Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence will be great this season. Doug Peterson and Trevor are one of the best quarterback QB combos in the league. Experience and talent. Some good wide receivers. A solid defense. And a pretty good offensive line. This team won 9 games. This team has momentum. And Trevor Lawrence will take another step this year after a fantastic second year. This is the Michael Batson Show. We'll see you later. Coming to you live tomorrow on a Wednesday. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you again.